Feeling so deep in my feelings. No, this ain't really like me. Can't control my anxiety. Yeah.
Hello, welcome back to my channel. So, lately I've been feeling very nostalgic. I just like the thought of how life used to be when I was just a mere little Naisha. So I was thinking, why not just take a stroll down memory lane. This particular stroll is going to be through a collection of short stories, and definitely changed my life. I don't know about for the better, but it made me a lot more paranoid. And this book is called Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, specifically the ones that made me paranoid and still have an effect on me to this day. So we're gonna have to change a few things if we're gonna do this right. So first we need to get rid of this light because it's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, right? Let's get rid of it. And we're back and it's dark. Maybe we'll light a candle. Just for the ambiance. Alright. I think we're pretty ready. Oh, one more thing. Okay. And cue spooky music now. Alright. Let's get into our first story, shall we? The first story we're gonna read has always haunted me. It's the reason why I never get into my car without checking the back seat. And it is called High Beams. Let's get into it. As a woman drove down a deserted highway, she noticed a lone pair of headlights quickly approaching her car from behind. When the car came closer, she noticed that it was gonna overtake her. The car drew up beside her, but then the driver suddenly swerved back behind her car. She started getting nervous and kept an eye on the strange car in her rearview mirror. He pulled up dangerously close to her rear bumper and began flashing his high beams at her. The headlights dimmed for a moment, but then the high beams, they flashed again, and the car behind her surged forward. The car followed her very closely, and tight on curves or over hills, he would flash his high beams on and off. The frightened woman struggled to keep her eyes on the road and fought the urge to keep looking at the car behind her. Finally, she approached her exit, but the car continued to follow, flashing the high beams again and again. The terrified woman took out her mobile phone and dialed 911. When the operator answered, the woman screamed into the phone, "A car is following me. He keeps tailgating and blinking his lights at me." The woman gave her address, and in a few minutes, she saw the red and blue lights of a police car in the distance. She breathed a sigh of relief as she pulled into her driveway, but suddenly, the strange car pulled into the driveway behind her, and he began blinking its lights on and off like a maniac. The police car screeched to a halt on the woman's front lawn. The two police officers jumped out with their guns drawn. They pulled the man out of the strange car and forced him to lie face down on the lawn. Then they handcuffed him as he screamed, "There's someone in her car!" The two policemen suddenly pointed their guns to the woman's direction and fired. The woman screamed, but when she turned around, she saw the bloody corpse of a murderer fall out of her back seat. There was a large butcher knife still clasped in his cold, dead hands. The police searched her back seat and found duct tape, a blindfold, and a pair of handcuffs lying there. The woman realized that the man in the strange car had been trying to save her. When the police released him, he explained that as he pulled up behind her and his headlights lit up her back seat, he had seen a man with a butcher knife rising up behind her, Just as the madman was about to stab her, he flashed his high beams, and the figure crouched back down. I flashed my high beams every time I saw him raise a knife, he said. The end. Y'all, that story used to scare the bejeebas out of me, and that was before I could even drive. Like, now that I drive, especially at night, I always look in the back seat before I get into the car, because we don't want any psychopaths in our back seat with a butcher knife trying to kill us. Because, especially whenever somebody's driving up close behind me with their high beams on, that's all I think about. Thank you, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, for ruining that for me forever. And now we're just gonna read one more story, because we're not trying to stay here for too long. This one is called Red Ribbon, which is weird because I always remembered it being called Green Ribbon. Oh, it says it's also known as the Red Ribbon, the Red Satin Ribbon, the Velvet Ribbon, the Yellow Ribbon, and the Green Ribbon. The story is about a ribbon, okay? Let's get into it. And spooky voice. Bill whistled as he strolled through the park. He was on his way to meet his girlfriend, Sally. He could smell spring in the air. He jingled the engagement ring in his pocket and thought about asking Sally to marry him. Sally sat down on a park bench, and Bill kneeled down in front of her. "Sally," Bill said, "you're the most beautiful girl I've ever met. I love you, and I want you to be my wife. Will you marry me?" Aww. Sally laughed and said, "Yes, I will marry you." As Bill gazed lovingly at his bride-to-be, his eyes lingered on the red velvet ribbon Sally always wore around her neck. "Why do you always wear that red ribbon?" Bill asked. Sally said, "Bill, I must never take off my red ribbon." Bill smiled at Sally and then left the ribbon alone. Bill and Sally were married that June. Bill found a lovely house in a nice neighborhood and they moved in. Bill bought Sally many party dresses, but Sally always wore her red ribbon with each outfit. Bill thought this was odd. Sally just smiled and said, "I must never take off my red ribbon." After a few years, Sally found out she was going to have a baby. The news delighted Bill. Sally talked with her friends who had babies. Bill talked with his buddies who had children. They talked together late into the night about what they learned from everyone. When the big day came, Sally said, "Please tell the doctors. Don't take off my red ribbon." Bill was frustrated, but he promised Sally that he would tell the doctor. After the baby was born, Bill gave Sally flowers. "Thank you for the flowers, Bill," said Sally, "and thank you for telling the doctors to not take off my red ribbon." Billy did not understand why the red ribbon was so important. "Do you want to hold little Billy?" Sally said. Billy, Sally, and Bill lived happily for many years in a small, lovely house in a nice neighborhood. When little Billy was a baby, he would sometimes reach for the red ribbon around his mother's neck. Sally would gently take his hands in hers and coo at him, saying, "Mommy must never take off her red ribbon." The red ribbon had frustrated Bill for so long. He loved Sally with all of his heart, but did not understand why she needed to wear the red ribbon. After many years, Bill had an idea. "Our anniversary's coming up. I will buy Sally a beautiful necklace. She'll have to take off that old red ribbon so she can wear the beautiful new necklace." Their anniversary came. Bill took Sally to a fancy restaurant overlooking Central Park. They had a delicious meal. Then Bill gave Sally a velvet box with a beautiful diamond necklace in it. She opened it, smiled, and tears came to her eyes. Bill put the necklace around her neck and started to take off the red ribbon. Sally stopped him. She said, "I must never take off my red ribbon." Bill sat back in his seat with a huff. He looked at Sally and shook his head. "I may never understand," Bill said. Sally gently placed the diamond necklace back in the velvet box and closed the lid. "It's very lovely, Bill. I will treasure it always," she said. "But I must never take off my red ribbon." "Why?" Bill asked, as he had for so many years. Sally smiled sadly and shook her head. She did not answer him. Late that night, Bill was awake. "I loved Sally for more than 20 years, but she insists on wearing that horrible red ribbon around her neck. I think it's about time I found out why." Bill got out of bed and walked around to Sally's side. Bill carefully pinched the ends of the bow on the ribbon. He began to slowly pull on the ribbon. The bow became smaller and smaller. The loops of the bow pulled through and only half a knot was left. Bill slid his finger under the half knot and tugged. Zip! The ribbon gave away. Pop! Sally's head came off. It rolled right into the floor, bouncing in the moonlight. One large tear fell from Sally's eye. "I warned you." Whew, guys, that used to scare me so bad as a kid. That story, oh my gosh. I was always afraid of girls who wore chokers after that because I thought their head was going to come off if they took the choker off. I mean, scary. Yeah, obviously I know that not every girl who wears a choker's neck's going to fall off. I even wore chokers, but the thought is still there. The thought is very much still there. That's all the stories we're gonna read. Let me know if you guys want more scary stories to tell in the dark, and I will continue on my nostalgia memory lane trip. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys. See you next time. Bye.